Good morning. Welcome to another episode of College Coffee Talk. Pearl and Andy Lockwood from Lockwood College Prep. Good morning, Pearl.
Good morning, Andy.
Sorry about the late start today. A little technical issues where basically every piece of equipment that we use wasn't really working well, so that's okay. If you have a cup of joe, please join us in a synchronized sip. 1, 2, 3. Welcome. All right. Now we've got the small talk out of the way. Say hi in the chat. Let us know that we're coming in audibly and visually, and introduce yourself. And if you have any questions at all about anything we're talking about or the college process in general, this is why we do these weekly shows, to help give out advice without charging you. How's that for
in short?
How's that for an idea? No, it's fun to do these. Fun to hear your questions and your feedback. Today we have a really good episode that I think is going to be extremely important for you to remind yourself of, not just the back of your head, but in the front of your brain. So we're talking about unforced errors. So you came up with a really good example that's fresh. There's probably thousands, definitely hundreds of examples over the years that we probably could have pulled out of the memory banks.
Yes.
And look, we're all guilty of unforced errors, in all areas of our lives.
But we're here to remind you not to make them.
Yeah, even though, listen, we all fall prey to them. It's not just college stuff. It's on the golf course. It's sometimes in family relationships or financial moves, or you name it. There's all sorts of ways to self-sabotage. This one is it's almost a little dramatic because of just how unforced it was.
Well, yes, and I even have an update that I don't want to give yet on that situation.
So you're announcing you have an update, but you're not going to give one?
I will after you explain the situation. Unless you're leading me to tell the situation.
No,
okay, I will.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your story.
Because the point is still the same.
Okay.
Okay. In this situation, a need-based eligible family, okay, their income lives in a need eligible spot. That's the first part of the financial aid analysis, to see if you're need eligible or not. Not to say that that's the end of the story, but in any case, this family was need-based eligible, all in, no question about it. And the student is accepted to going to a private, generous college that would ordinarily meet the demonstrated need. And in this instance, unfortunately, this is the unforeseen error. This family failed to file financial aid forms in a timely fashion for this school. They were just late. It was not initially this is another important thing to note. This was not a school that was on this student's original list, and was certainly not in contention, or consideration. But lo and behold, after the first round of maybe early applications, you get some feedback, perhaps not so good, you add other schools to the mix. If at that time, while you're adding, you fail to submit financial aid forms, you will be late. And the risk in not filing financial aid forms on time is that schools can run out of money where you otherwise would have been awarded money. And in this case, considerable amount. We're talking about $30,000 or so of eligibility that was given up in this instance.
All right. So as more backstory, this is the younger sibling of someone who we helped a few years ago with college advising, and she had great results, got into a couple of Ivy League schools, and was just one of these amazing, high-achieving go-getter kids. The younger brother has other redeeming qualities, but he is not that same type of student or person. So the entire process, we were dragging him along on the college advising side, multiple reminders to do the same thing over and over again. And then finally, his older sister, the high achieving one, stepped in. She finished up her exams at her Ivy League school,
Yeah.
and she stepped in. And so she and I were basically um, running the show, not the son, the brother in her case. And I was even at some point I was calling her my junior assistant college advising intern, as a joke, but it was a fact-based joke. But the writing was on the wall. I mean, the whole way through there was just this lack of attention and lack of punctuality, and he's just not that type of kid, right? So it felt like we were pounding a square peg into a round hole the entire way. So then when this happened, when they, I guess unilaterally applied to a school that I think is actually a good fit, they, we all just assumed that they were going to also take care of adding the school for financial aid purpose, or telling you to, or whatever. It didn't dawn on me. It was so late.
Right.
And then what ended up happening was they basically got an offer of zero.
Right.
Right.
That's
because
right.
they were because they were so late, but that's not the school's explanation. So
exactly. So I'm not exactly sure. So this may bring us to like another point of the day. Often there are emails sent out by colleges that are just robotically bots sent, responsive to the fact that your student has applied to the school or shown some interest or something. Okay. And it is not deeper than that. But sometimes families, because they are invested and a school becomes important, they hang on every email as though it's communicating something germane to them. And not necessarily, no, and often it is, but sometimes bots go out. So you do need to do a little bit more follow up to make sure that if you're getting a communication from the school, that this is not just a generic email that's going out.
Right. I think in their case, they ignored all the emails because that was both the mom and our emails, right? And our emails to give us all the financial aid information, so that they wouldn't be more late than they already were. And it's very easy to just ignore emails in general. And I send a lot of emails. We get, on a good day, we get 49% opened according to our system. So the college emails are really spammy and body. They're not written by real people. Right. So I do understand the impulse not to read the email. But on the other hand, when the stakes are this high, and like Pearl said, $30,000 worth of aid potentially on the table, you may want to open your emails, especially if this is the second time you've been through this, and then we've been telling the kids over and over again, you have to check your emails. You have to check your emails. He's hearing it from me, hearing it from his mom, hearing it from his older sister.
So yes, he got in. Yay, that's great.
Yeah.
But they didn't need to be paying an additional $30,000 for the freshman year, did they? That was really easily salvageable.
Yeah, avoidable.
Yes. So it actually brings me to something I was listening to, Barbara Corcoran, the real estate mogul who is on Shark Tank, et cetera, and so forth. Right. The one, we'll leave that aside. Okay, fine. I once was on an airplane, coincidentally, not to this story.
Let me just tell this quickly. We were both flying from California to New York, and right in front of us on JetBlue Mint was Barbara Corcoran. So I give her credit for flying, that instead of private
plebeians like us.
Exactly. And Pearl sees her, she goes, "You look like her."
I couldn't get it out fast enough. I couldn't get her name out, and whatever. She was just in front of me.
And Barbara says,
I was shocked.
"I am her." Right. Yeah.
It was funny. Anyway, anyhow, I happened to be listening to her recently, and then she was giving advice to college kids who are seeking jobs, internships, and whatever. And it's relevant for college kids applying to jobs, internships, etc. But it is also relevant in the same way, just in general, in this application process. And the advice was this. She said, when an interviewer says to you, "Do you have any other questions?" at the end of the interview.
Can I guess?
Sure.
Don't say, "No, I'm good."
Right. Number one, don't do that. Don't say, no, I'm good. But what she did say that you should say is there anything standing in the way of you
Nice.
hiring me?
Nice.
Right. That simple question. And I thought that was great. Certainly going to pass that advice along to our students and my children, etc. But it's also a very important question for every family who is going through the college planning process to routinely ask themselves all the time, because this is how casualties like this low-hanging fruit of just submitting the financial aid forms on time to a school you might be applying to, they gave up $30,000, that could have been avoided. You should routinely be asking, so is there anything standing in the way of my admission, of my getting money, of my application process? Check all those things routinely. What can I do better? This is, it's
Right.
the train comes and it goes, the year comes, goes, ends, and then you're in a college. It is a lot of pressure. It is a lot of moving parts, but it's finite. It's a short period of time that you need to routinely ask yourself, is there anything standing in the way of my getting into this school? And you got to be honest with yourself.
Or what else do I need to do?
What else can I do to
so
shore it up
in your case,
every regard?
Your answer would have been, well, how about getting me the FSA ID that I've been asking you to do for the last 6 weeks?
Right.
Yeah. So,
or you want to appeal the award. Why haven't you given me your 2023 tax returns yet? You told me they were done. Send them to me.
Yeah.
Don't stand in your own way.
Okay. Thanks, Barbara. Was that your update?
No, that was not my update.
Okay.
My update on that situation.
Pointing.
I just got a voicemail from the parent earlier today.
Yeah.
That someone from the financial aid office said, wait, we just got your appeal. We haven't decided anything yet.
Good.
Let's take a look at it. Can someone call me back? But this was also on the heels of, we said, follow up, make sure they got what we sent. Anyway, so I'll let you know. Hopefully something good happens for this family.
Because she kept saying initially we didn't get any aid, and so I said, "Oh, can you send me over the the letter that you got, because you at least should have received loans. That's not what you're looking for, but they give you. They don't just ignore your application. They send it to you." And then she found out there was information missing. Not that they didn't give any aid, because that was all, I think, hearsay. It was based on a conversation that her son had.
Or just misinterpreting bot emails or something.
It was the rep told us that we didn't get any aid or something like that. And then it turned out it wasn't that they didn't get any aid. They hadn't provided everything, like their tax returns and other things that were just waiting there on a list in the portal for us to provide.
Right.
And she was relying on her son, which she shouldn't have done, because her son is not her daughter. And it just got unnecessarily delayed, and maybe the $30,000 self-sabotaging mistake will turn out to be
I'm
not
hopeful.
$30,000.
I
agree with you. I
These
think
things usually get sorted out.
From this school, not from every school.
Right, that's true.
Yeah.
But in this particular school, this wasn't a question of whether they were eligible. They're eligible, and this is what the school costs, and this is their demonstrated need. Usually, they get those things right, even if you're a bit tardy. I'm not recommending that anyone be tardy. Why give anything something that stands in the way of accepting you, right? So if you're late, you've given someone a reason to hold you back, because that shows you're a little irresponsible. You didn't do things in a timely fashion. You didn't do things like other people who are getting accepted or getting awarded.
Right. So this type of concept, spans across everyone's lives. But from the college perspective, you've also got people who will, submit their SAT or ACT scores when they shouldn't, and therefore they're giving someone a reason to deny them. So you're getting in your own way again. Or they'll write an essay that is just so awful, and I know you know who I'm talking about from years ago. So smug and condescending, and just the wrong tone, that no one, even their safety school, that the mom thought at the time, admitted them. And that, it's dangerous to say there was one reason, there's one thing that kept her out. But anyone reading this essay, which I implored her to change, but she didn't want to do that, would have come to the conclusion this was like a spoiled brat,
Yep.
right? So don't act that way. Don't, get out of your get out
I
of your own
spent
way.
5 minutes with a Down syndrome person and changed their lives forever.
Is that what it was about?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I am just so,
The white
I have
knight.
such a profound effect on people
Yeah.
that
Well, that's true. Not the one she's looking for. Right.
I'm
So
ready to turn your world around.
So there's mistakes you can make in terms of missing deadlines, both for admissions and for financial aid. There's mistakes you can make in terms of like the strategy or the right topics. There are college list mistakes where all you do is apply to these top schools and you don't get in because you don't understand how you stand compared to your competition. People are very myopic
Yes.
in this type of situation.
I just want to jump in because this reminds me of yet another example. We are working with someone who wants to apply to Ivy League schools, sees himself going to Ivy League schools, but had, and I don't even remember all these details, but something like 10 APs in his arsenal accomplished, and that's what it was going to be, and that was going to be his body of work. Yet, let's say, the people he's competing with have twice as many APs practically. And there are some available APs, and specifically, you can't snow your way out of, if these 5 AP classes are the most rigorous and challenging and you're taking 7 that are less and trying to, overcome not taking the hardest ones with quantity, you're going to fall exactly where that puts you. And you're not competing with those kids who successfully took those 5 hardest AP exams and everything else. So you have to get real and honest and look in the mirror with exactly how you stand up, what you have, and what you're missing, and understand where that levels you up in this process.
In many, I'm not sure about who you're talking about, but in many,
where then the student redid his whole schedule for senior year.
Got it. I was one of our pro bono students. So, so this comment applies to him too, and sort of in his defense and other kids' defenses. Frequently, the guidance counselor will sort of talk them out of taking the extra AP or 2 because it's too stressful. They're working hard enough, and on one hand, I appreciate that because guidance counselors deal with all sorts of mental health and depression and anxiety issues and all that. On the other hand, if the kid is gunning for an elite, an Ivy or similar type of school, that's bad advice because that's a form of self-sabotage. You're trying to apply with one hand tied behind your back, basically, because you're artificially limiting your ability to get in by taking away some of the key qualities that admissions officers are looking for.
Right.
Now, whether he belongs in those,
that's a different question.
Yeah, in that echelon, that was questionable. To be fair, but I think the response was something like, "Oh, well, I didn't want to take that because I already had a really hard schedule for senior year, and my guidance counselor or someone didn't think I should do that." And my response was just like what I said was like, "Look, that's fine, but if you're gunning for these Ivy type schools, then you're not going to get in, basically, or you're not going to have a chance of getting in because the rest of your, this body of work, meaning your test scores were good, but they weren't blow you out of the water good. His GPA was good, but it wasn't, again, necessarily like valedictorian or salutatorian good. His high school, I'm not sure of the quality of the high school. Certainly not one of the elite high schools that that
feeds into some of these schools.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So he was limiting himself by going down this path until we tried to correct it, and he's still not a slam dunk to get in, but at least he's improving.
Giving himself a fighting chance. Here is where the real problem could crop up. So let's say we didn't have an intervention, and he is continuing on his application process with the notion that he's going to that this number of APs or the type of APs he took sufficient, according to his guidance counselor. And he pursues and faces some kind of admissions Armageddon, or perhaps puts some what are actually target schools on his list, but he treats them like they're safety schools and doesn't give those applications the attention and care that will actually matter, because that's likely to be where he's going to end up. So you have to get real with where you're actually going to place, and also make sure you don't want to disregard any part of your application, any school, any part.
So if you have any questions, we're getting ready to wrap up here. We're a little slightly over time here, but I see that Beth and Heidi are with us, and if anyone else has questions, either currently live or on replay, pop them in the comment section, and we'll get to them in the next day or so. But there's all sorts of ways that you can inflict wounds on yourselves that are easily avoidable. So part of getting to college, of course, is amplifying your body of work that's going to be ultimately judged. And that can start as early as 9th or 10th grade. You know, in 11th grade, if you have your first meeting with your college counselor at school, whether you go to a private high school or public high school, that's usually a little bit too late to be thinking about what you can do to improve your chances of getting in. And that's sort of an error of omission. I wouldn't say that's a self-inflicted wound. It's almost like an institutional wound, because that's the way most schools operate. And again, it's not only public schools, it's particularly private schools. So if you have any questions regarding avoiding mistakes or anything about the college process, pop them in the comments.
Any topics you may want us to discuss, exactly, let us know.
All right, Pearl.
All right.
Pearl's going to pick up some furniture for us. That's exciting.
Yes.
She does all the heavy lifting, but you are bringing help.
Yes.
Bring reinforcements.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. Have a great week, and we'll be back here next week, same time. Wait, are we off for July 4th? Let me think about this here.
Is that next Tuesday?
Whoa, Nelly.
I don't think it's.
No, but we are July 1st, so we will be here on the 1st of July.
Yes.
Hope you will too. Have a great week.